Hello friends, if I ask you, can you come with me for shopping today? What will be your answer? Probably you may say, let me check what all other things I have to do and I'll let you know. Or if you know that you have lot of activities to do today, then you may ask me, can we go in the next week? It means as an individual, we plan our day. Now what do we do when we plan our day? In a day, what all activities we have to do, we decide those activities and accordingly we plan a day. Similarly, we also plan for a week. We also plan for a month, and not only for the month but we also have some planning for our semesters. Now, when we are considering planning as a process, it means we are deciding our goals and we are also taking decisions about how are we going to achieve these goals. It means planning is our day-to-day activity which helps individual to use his or her time very effectively, and therefore it ensures that we are completing our work. So the manager, when planning for the organization, it reflects lot of activities which are to be performed throughout the year. Year plan is not the only plan we have in the organization, but this year plan also include the planning of the terms, or maybe we can say a planning for the semesters. Now further, this semester plan also have the planning for the month, and the monthly plan includes the planning for the week, and the weekly plans, they include the planning for a day. It means when we are talking about the planning for the organization, it reflects the right from the planning of a day to the planning of a year. Now this planning in an organization is interlinked. If a school wants to participate in a science exhibition, then it will be reflected in their monthly plan, it will be reflected in their semester plan, and it will be also a part of their year plan. Now let us come to the definitions of the planning from the managerial point of view. The management includes lot of processes. For example, planning, organizing, coordinating, delegating, staffing, etc. Now planning is extremely important and the first step of management. So in a simple way, it can be defined as the act to set a goal and to decide the means for achieving these goals. It means the manager does not only decide the goals, but also they decide what are the different ways, and out of this which way we are going to select to achieve our goal. In other way, I can say that it is a decision making activity through which a manager ensures that the goals are achieved successfully and effectively. It is not necessary that you may have one goal and you can have only one alternative or one way to achieve it. Today, we are going to look into the planning as a functions of management. There are different functions of management as you are aware of it. For example, planning, organizing, staffing, controlling, delegating, etc. The planning is a very important and the very first step in the management. When I consider it as a process, it means it indicates the thoughts of manager through the act and the activities planned by the manager in advance. Now in other words, the manager is responsible for the planning of the organization. Any organization does not work in isolation. there are n number of functions any organization perform. Now, to make this functioning effectively as well as efficient, planning is very important and it plays a very important role in giving guidelines to people. In other words, I can say that planning is very goal oriented activity. It is a process in which manager decides his or her goal for the institution as well as for self. Now, when I say for the self, it means not an individual but the person who is working as a manager, and from his or her role he or she has to identify what are his goals for the organization. Now, when I consider the planning as a managerial process, it is a continuous one, because once we achieve something, then we have to plan for the next. When we are investing so much of time, so much of energy and so much of money into any organization, it definitely requires that we should plan our money, time properly so that whatever the goals we have decided, we can achieve those goals. So, any manager in an organization think about the human as well as the non-human resources they have, and also how effectively he or she can make use of these resources so as to achieve the goals. Now, with this definition, we are coming to the characteristics of planning. The very first characteristic of planning, that it is closely associated with goals. What do you mean by closely association with the goal? Now, any organization is a formal setup. There is a hierarchy which is decided by the authorities, and the manager is working in particular role to perform the task. Each institution or organization, they have their own goals. For example, if the school has a goal of developing students for creative writing, then the goal or any activity which a school will be having which is related to the exposure of student for the creative writing skills. It means they may have a scheduled enrichment program to enhance the creative writing skills of students. The second characteristic of planning, that the planning is always concerned with the future. So, in other words, the planning primarily look into the future. Now, we will take the example of the same school. We keep talking about Indian diversity or Indian cultural diversity. Now, because of globalization, the schools and the students and the teachers, they are interacting with people from different cultures, and therefore there are a lot of chances of having a conflict on culture. It is always found that people, they give importance to their own culture and consider others as not that important. Now, when the school is with the intention that they want to have a culturally competent students, then they are looking into the future, or according to them, the cultural competence is a future need. So, considering these future needs, these activities will be planned by the schools. The third characteristic of planning is the selection of best alternative. The two schools, they can have the same objective, but when they are selecting the alternatives, it depends on the resources what they have. The interlinking of these resources is very important in order to decide what alternatives or what is the way to achieve our goal or the objective. The fourth characteristic of planning that it is comprehensive. Now, when I say that the planning is comprehensive, it means for an organization there are different types of plans, what we have said earlier, and these different types of plan, they are together gives us a year plan. Supposing the school is intended to prepare students with the cultural competence, then mere having a different types of religious prayer is not sufficient for that. For that, to achieve the objectives, they may have to plan different activities which can be curricular as well as which can be co-curricular. Now, this co-curricular and the curricular planning is reflected in your semester plan as well as the year plan. So, in a way, the organization when provides us a year plan, it gives only every plan, that is a day plan, week plan as well as the year plan. One can come to know that what is the intention of these activities and what is actually the goal of the organization. So, if the school intend to prepare culturally competent students, they will have lot of curricular as well as co-curricular activities which are actually interlinked. The next characteristic of planning, that planning is interdependent. As earlier we have mentioned that a school have to carry out so many functions. A school is responsible for developing knowledge, the skills, the attitude. Also the school wants to develop the sports person, the writer, the thinkers and so on and so forth. We have different subjects to achieve this. But though we have the same subject, every school is not succeeded in achieving all the activities. So, when we say that the planning is interdependent, it means lot of activities which are carried out in a school, they are depending on each other in a sense that the time and the amount of time which we are allocating for each activity. The last characteristic of planning, that the planning is flexible. Now, when we say flexible, what is the meaning of it? The flexibility means it is not that every day we can change our planning, but yes, if there is some unavoidable circumstances, then instead of doing that particular activity, we can do the next day's activity and you can shift the first day activity to the next day, so on and so forth. So, it means a planning is a process in which a school personnel or the manager decides the goal. They also think about the alternative or the ways through which they can achieve it. While deciding these alternatives, they think about the resources, that is human as well as the physical resources they have. They coordinate all these resources in such a way that they can succeed to achieve their goal, and also they must get the efficient and the effective results. So, in other words, when we say that the planning and why we have to do the planning, so the planning has some objectives for the organization. The very first objective for the organization, that a planning makes our objectives very clear. Now, when we are saying that how it is making clear, so in a simple way we can say that because of our planning, everyone in the organization knows what they are supposed to do, and when the message is conveyed to everybody, the things are very clear and we can achieve our goal with the maximum success. The second objective is that it offsets the uncertainty. Now, when the task is decided, then lot of people can have lot of questions or the queries that how to go about it. To answer their queries or to answer this ambiguousness to achieve the task, it is the planning which help us. For example, like we will carry the same example of development of culturally competent students. Now, what is the meaning of culturally competent student? That the organization first will have to decide. Now, this organization will also have to think about the different aspects of cultural competency. Now, how to go about it? That is uncertain. So, in planning, all resources or all human beings, they will gather together and they will decide the plan of action. The plan of action is nothing but they will be thinking of how can we achieve this particular goal. Now, to achieve that particular goal, they may have a number of objectives. So, therefore, everybody in the organization will sure that what he or she has to do. The planning helps us to decrease the uncertainty and also the change. Many times people are confused about what they are supposed to do because the task is very big and then everybody has to play some role and their tasks are interdependent. So, if one does not play that particular role, then the other tasks suffer. So, if we are in the process of planning, we also take care of all these aspects. So, every plan has a sub-plan and this sub-plan actually clears our idea about what we are supposed to do. And therefore, definitely your uncertainty decreases and also if there are any changes, we come across to that. The next objective of the planning, that it helps us to focus on our objective. As earlier we have mentioned that every institution has a particular goal or they have a specific goal. They also have a general goal, but whenever we are thinking of planning, we involve specific as well as our general goal. Now this planning help us or it basically direct us to be into our process of achieving goal. So in other words, by chance if we just change a track, then it is our planning which will actually get back to us to our track. Therefore, when we say that the planning help to focus on our objective, it means it is giving us very clear guidelines or it is giving us very clear direction. Sometimes it also happens that you choose one way or you decide one strategy which may not function, but then if our goals are clear, then we can make use of some other strategy to achieve the goals. The next objective of planning, that it helps in coordination. Earlier also we have mentioned that the institution has to carry out various activities. Now we cannot always go in a sequential manner when we are in the organization or otherwise also for our day-to-day plans. We have to carry out many activities together. So usually we carry out the similar activities. It means the activities which require the same efforts or same human resources or same non-human resources. So we club those kind of activities first, and then the other activities which are different from these activities, which we keep it aside. For example, supposing there is an examination work which is to be carried out. Now we have to plan for the examination. Now it involves the paper setting, when to set the papers. It will also involve preparation of timetable of the examination. It will also involve the timetabling of the examination, the time for the checking of the papers, the moderation of the papers and the declaration of the results. So in conduction of examination also we have so many things to do. So in the examination work, can we have the parallel planning for checking of the paper and moderation? Yes, we can have. Same way, in a school when we are having lot of co-curricular and the curricular activities, so we have to think of parallel activities which we can actually carry on. The next objective of planning is to gain economy in operation. Now, what is the meaning of gaining economy in operations? As we have earlier mentioned that any organization performs lot of activities. While performing these activities, we are investing lot of time, we are also investing lot of energy of people, and we are also investing money. Now, when we are in the process of planning, we think of saving time, money and energy with the achievement of our goal. So, we are not getting away from our goal. The next objective of planning is to help in the process of controlling. Now, in management, the controlling does not mean to stop any activity, but it means that the feedback to be given if the strategy is not working in a proper way. So, if we have a plan and we have decided to do a particular activity in a particular way, but if it is not giving us results, then we have to think of the another strategy. It means we are not going away from our objective, but we are just changing the strategy, because when we are undergoing or undertaking a formative evaluation, that time we think about what went wrong, and thinking about what went wrong, you get the answers that probably yes, this is the reason it has gone wrong. For example, supposing we keep some competitions before the examination of students. What will happen? The students will not give us a response by participating it, and the answer is very simple. Because of the examination, they don't want to participate. So, you can make actually change in our plan, and therefore, the planning also help in controlling certain activities or the strategies. The next objective of the planning is to increase the organizational effectiveness. All the organizations which are working to perform the particular task, they actually focused to achieve the efficiency and the effectiveness. The efficiency means the amount of work we are doing, and the effectiveness talks about the impact of a work which we have done. So, in order to achieve the effectiveness, the organizations, they are working hard. Here is the difference in the efficiency and effectiveness. The efficiency may speak about numbers, but the effectiveness talks about the impact. If a particular school wants to develop a culturally competent student, it means the students who will be coming out of these schools will have a very broad outlook towards all culture. So, these will be individuals which will not be having any prejudices on the basis of religion, region, language, so on and so forth. And according to them, it's a human being only important, and the human development is important. So, therefore, these objectives of planning help us to make our work of an organization very systematic and a methodical way.